I love it when it says recording in progress. It also means that I have to watch my mouth and not say all the wild shit I was saying to y'all prior to getting on.
Does it though?
So how are y'all today? 10 episodes in, 10. Ooh, that's like Illuminati, but 10 episodes in.
Yay. I was just telling a couple of friends to do this podcast, and they're super excited for me that I'm able to have a break in my life and be able to talk about General Hospital. And they're like, oh, that's so wonderful. So, yay, I thought I was going to be made fun of, but instead I'm getting love. So,
This also
that's
happens to me.
yeah. So, but I'm doing okay. Actually, yeah, I'm doing okay.
All that same. I was on a plane yesterday, which always gives me a lot of anxiety. But I was recognized at the airport for this documentary I was in. And I was like, no pictures, please. It was like very weird. He was like, Tracey? I was like, yes. And I had on a mask. And so I was just like, what is it that you recognize? But I realized that my hair has been consistently the same and I had on the same earrings. So what can I do? So that was exciting, kind of, and interesting, a little. What about you, Sandra?
I'm great. Thank you. I just got it cut on Thursday. So that was a big moment in the week. And I did things this week that weren't General Hospital related or work related. I went away for the weekend with some friends, and we stayed in a cute little cabin outside of Guerneville. And we had grandiose plans of like going on hikes, and we just like hung out in the hot tub all day and, took substances that are illegal in the state of California. So it was a delight. And so I'm coming off fresh off that, but also a little foggy. So I'm very interested to see what I will say today. It will be a surprise to us all.
There we go. Well, I do want to just like preview that we don't have a deep dive this week, mostly because I want to dive into like some behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, I mean, I laugh when Tanya said like, we have to take time off of what we usually do. I'm like, damn, but I also feel like I'm doing a little bit of what I usually do when I like go off on people and I have to like switch between my Twitter and like like our GH Sunday Shift Twitter. It's like that Spider-Man pointing meme. That's what it feels like when I do that. So anyway, let's hop into the recap. Y'all ready?
I'm so ready.
Here we go. We start the week with Sam and Diane springing Alexis from camp prison. Harmony is sad her friend is leaving, and Sam has a side eye that Harmony is even around. Nicholas shows up and tells Sam and Alexis that Spencer has renounced his name and his title. Alexis is pleased, but Sam is delighted. Spencer shows up for his shift at Kelly's to learn that Esme and Cam are planning a weekend trip. He jokes about that, but what is no joke for our boy is when Esme gets Cam to talk about his almost history with Trina. The camera work is close up and masterful. Spencer then tells them that he renounced his title and his money and his father because Trina told him to. Sweet, simple Cam tells him that was bad advice from Trina, but Esme reads the room and tells him that she's proud of him. They talk about sex. Spencer is doing it because he went to boarding school. Kim and Joss are not because they're busy, I guess. On the 2 days of Cassadine Island, we see Jason using military commands to wake up Drew Lavery from his tarot card-induced trance. Drew tells Jason he should have killed him before he finds out that Jason and Sam are not together and that Sam is with Dante. I was personally entertained by his face. Jason also caught him up on Anna, Valentine, and Victor. Peter wants Britt to convince Maxie to run away with him and find Louise. He proves to her that he controls Drew by making Drew give himself a cut, which, whatever. But Drew says, Jason says to Drew that Peter made a mistake. I can't even get it out because I'm so annoyed by that storyline. Sorry. Anyway, we'll keep it moving. Speaking of Jason, Carly is having a conversation about him with Diane, who she tells that among all the things that Nina took from her, she also took her relationship with Jason because Sonny is having a hard time accepting that Charlie was about to have sexy time because they was about to be married. While that is happening, Sonny is having a conversation with Miss Wu, who we love, who he thanks with half of the Novak holdings. Miss Wu tells Sonny that Brad is her nephew and she wants him out of jail. Sonny says that while he won't do anything to help Brad out of jail, he won't hurt his chances or hurt him if he gets out. Sonny makes that promise on behalf of himself and his family. Willow and Michael show up with Wiley for lunch at the Metro Court, and Sonny pulls Michael and Carly aside to let them know about the promise. Michael is not happy, but says he will honor it as long as Brad stays away from his family. This is happening upstairs from a very cringe interaction between Willow and Harmony. Harmony asks Willow why she isn't involved in the family conversation, while Wiley hits her with the, I don't know her. Harmony also tells Willow about her friend that got released from camp prison that she will miss. Hashtag HarmLexis rising. Moving to BLQ and Maxie, pulling what can only be described as shenanigans this week. Chase is on the case about baby Louise. Gladys is blackmailing BLQ because she knows Bailey is not Valentine's, and Austin knows something is up. So that duo has a lot of moves to make. They hire an actor, or Paulie, to pretend to be BLQ's baby daddy and has him threaten Gladys. They both act really weird around Maxie getting questioned by the police, and Maxie acts weird around Austin getting questioned. Austin does manage to plant some doubt in Valentine's head, which makes Valentine threaten Gladys. And we see that Valentine has the capacity to go full Cassadine in a moment if there's no Anna around. Josh talks with Trina about her first time with Cam. Trina encourages Josh to do what feels right for her, not what feels like she's being pressured into by Esme. After their very sweet friend talk and hug, Josh goes to join the festivities that have already been at Liz's house for her birthday. Jake is not there. He's in DC on a trip, and none of her friends are there, but they explain that away, saying they had a birthday party at the hospital already. Scott shows up and notices that Cameron has that teenager trying to get his parents out of the house so they can have some sex energy, and gives some advice and an extra sensitive condom. Nicholas also shows up and is very awkward. We get a Franco mention and Liz and Finn off to the Savoy for, and you can take a shot every time you hear mentioned, live music. I'm not going to get too far into the recap for Josh and Cam about a wooden spoon incident and some people turning around in their driveway, but I'm sure that we will talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Nicholas also runs into Trina at Kelly's. They have a conversation that proves that Nicholas is still aboard the Sprina ship, one of his only redeeming qualities, if we're being honest, and tells her that he's glad she's in Spencer's life. So let me just interject that this would also have been the perfect time for Nicholas to say something like your Aunt Gia was with me, but I digress. We have a Maxie and Sam scene at the hospital where Sam tells Maxie that she is with Dante. There's also a scene where Alexis bumps into Dante, who nobody told her was released. They leave with everything being good between them. Dante then bumps into Maxie, who basically gives him her blessing to move on. Over at Charlie's, Sean is putting on his best flirting with Nina, and Sonny proves that he and Spencer share the same jealous face. Sonny lets Phyllis know that he bought the Tano for her to manage, though no one mentions that Christina is already the manager. Nina tells Sonny she's trying to follow his rules about their interactions, and Sonny says he can change them. He also ignores a phone call from Carly when talking to Nina because he is supposed to be at the Savoys for, you guessed it, live music. At the Savoy, after many snafus and finding and losing bands, we finally have an act locked in, courtesy of Cat Daddy Snooper and BLQ's former manager. At the Savoy, we see that Willow is trying to have her Tom Cruise moment by hopping on a table to declare her love for Michael, insert eye roll. We also see Liz and Portia have a conversation about whether Liz is ready to move on, and that moving on being with Finn. Chase has on his Jason Morgan's finest black shirt because he is doing private security for the club, and he intervenes between BLQ and her former producer. Sonny finally leaves his boo Nina to show up to be with his wife and family. People apparently enjoy said live music, which, sure. Curtis is concerned about that cancellation of acts to the club. Someone is trying to connect his club to the mob. He was clear he didn't want that connection, which is why he didn't take any protection from Jason. He calls the music producer to get more information. Cat Daddy Snooper shows up and says he is the one that Curtis wants to talk to. Ned has lunch with BLQ and they talk ELQ and Olivia. BLQ encourages him to go home and make up with Olivia. At this at home, Olivia is talking with Robert about their kiss. He basically tells her, girl, I'm not what you want, despite our attraction, and encourages her to listen to Ned about Leo. Ned walks in right as Robert and Olivia are sharing a goodbye hug. And in a very weird transition, Ned lets Olivia know that ELQ is supporting our girl Trina's art gallery and she's invited. Last two things. Sonny goes to catch up with Spencer at Kelly's. Spencer tells him he gave up his money because a friend convinced him that it was the right thing to do. He wants to know what it will take for Sonny to trust him again, and Sonny tells him there are no shortcuts. Finally, it's a showdown that I've been asking for, which was Esme shows up to Trina's job and says she and Spencer will be coming to the exhibit, but also wants to know what's going on between Trina and Spencer. I know we will discuss this at length later, but Trina basically says to her, your man chose me, but that they are friends and she will continue to be there for him. Esme leaves, and when we see her outside of the gallery, we see she was so angry that she made a fist and drew blood. Quite a long explanation for a week where not much happened.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, not much happened to move forward the plot. Definitely kind of a filler week, but interesting dialogue between certain people that I really enjoyed. So, and again, Friday was the most interesting day.
True.
So
I text Sandra, I was like, this feels like a week full of Tuesdays.
Yes.
Like a week full of Tuesday episodes.
Yeah, it was bad. I actually really hated this week. I can say that full-heartedly. Did not like this week. It just felt like a lot of treading water for November.
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to be a sweeps week. It was too much Sonny and Carly and Nina shit, having the same ass conversations y'all have been having for like 6 weeks. I won't go too deep in, but like that was just like, it felt like such like the hinge of the week, kind of like every storyline that's active during sweeps is kind of getting their turn. And it was like their turn this week. And I was like, no Vanna, no teens, or like they're teens, but like they were very much downplayed. I was like, no thanks.
It wasn't good. So with all that, what was your favorite moment of the week?
Me?
Yes, you.
Make me
transition from you can go first. You can go first.
No, I can go. Just like going straight from me eviscerating the week to going to favorite moment, but okay, I can do it. I can turn on a dime. This was a little hard, but I ended up deciding on Cameron, Esme, and Spencer at Kelly's, taking us right back to the beginning of the week. I of course I thought it was interesting seeing the chemistry between Esme and Cameron. There was just like a ease between them that I don't necessarily see. I mean, Cameron has ease with different characters, but like Esme seems the most like a normal, as close to normal as she can be, teenage girl when she's around Cam. She just seems like more relaxed, more like I can buy your act, even though it's still, I still like see it as an act. And Cameron also like got a little embarrassed when Spencer joked about them, like about Esme and Cam going away together, like, oh, when did that happen? And Cam kind of was like, so it's like, oh, you're starting to see that little like moment of attraction between them more from Cam's angle than we had seen before. And then of course there's like the true highlight of that scene, which was jealous Spencer. So good, so satisfying. As you already named, Tracey, the camera work was spectacular, really. Just that slow ease onto Spencer's like what the fuck face. Yeah, I loved that. I loved also Esme watching and like putting the pieces together and him being oblivious to it. But I will say that like my one caveat, and I'll talk more about this later, is just like, why is like Cameron really doesn't notice shit. He is just like the most oblivious person in the world. Esme was like, oh, am I just the worst person in the world that my boyfriend doesn't want to talk to me? And Cameron, you know, comforts her and like falls into that dynamic. But then when she says that I'll just have to get to know her, I'll have to get to know Trina better ASAP, I would have been like, I don't want to text Trina and give her the heads up that this crazy bitch is after her. But Cameron's just not that smart. And I stand by that statement. Sweet, simple Cam. So what about you, Tanya? What do you think? What's your favorite moment?
I think Cameron is just in general oblivious, or is it just a male thing? Like men aren't necessarily in tuned to kind of the cat fights between women, maybe, or maybe they just don't pay attention to it. What do you think?
Yeah,
True, and I think he's just also really simple.
yes, and it's like both. It's definitely like they definitely play, especially those teenage boys, like pretty oblivious to like the dynamics between the girls. And there's something about the way that like Cameron falls into it that feels like extra annoying, because I'm like, those girls not even sleeping with you, and you're throwing both your girlfriend and your BFF under the bus for her. Like that's pretty pathetic, in my opinion.
Yeah. I had actually multiple things that I liked about this week. For me, I loved that Robert called Olivia out. I love that scene where he was like, yeah, we do have an attraction together, but it seems to be only when you have a problem with your husband. So I love that. I loved him being like, you know, it isn't, you know, you're concerned about Ned supporting you, but what about you supporting him in the marriage? You know, that kind of thing. And how, you know, or he just simply was like, well, why don't you just do what he wants, and then if he's wrong, then he's wrong. You know, that thing, and then you guys can move on, you know, that kind of thing. And so I loved him calling her out on her bullshit. Sorry. I loved, definitely, obviously loved, because I keep asking for it, the scene between Sonny and Spencer, where Sonny was telling Spencer to man up and take and you know, and stop taking the easy way out, and no, I don't forgive you, and no, I won't tell you what you need to do for me to forgive you. Love that. And then finally, obviously, well, actually, there's some other things. I love the scenes between Valentine and Gladys, because Valentine put on the charm, but then he also put on the I'm an evil bastard and don't fuck with me look on his face. It was amazing because he's been like all like happy and romantic with Anna, but then all of a sudden, he's starting to frown and be upset and mad and have this, scowl on his face because he's not getting the information that he feels that he needs to be getting from Gladys or anybody. So Evil Cassadine Valentine is coming out. But I love his scenes with Gladys. Those are my favorite. So, and then finally, my most favorite was Trina and Esme for obvious reasons. Trina telling her, do not tell me how to be friends with Spencer. Don't, I think it was really bold of Esme to be like, certain topics should be out of the conversation because it's too personal. How is it too personal asking him about his family life? It'd be one thing if Spencer ran to her to talk to Trina about sex, but he's not doing that. He's talking about family life, which everybody knows about. What they're talking about isn't personal. She just doesn't want Trina to be talking or helping Spencer to make decisions about his own life. That's what she doesn't want.
And she never sought out Spencer. Spencer be looking for her.
She did. Yeah, she did. Yeah, but she wants Trina to tell Spencer, don't talk to me about this thing because you should be talking to your girlfriend about it. No, that's not the kind of thing that's a red flag for me. Like if a guy comes to me and says, I'm having problems with my family, I don't know what to do, I'm fine with that. But if he's like, I'm having problems with my girlfriend and, or she's not giving it up or anything like that, then I'd be like, yo, this is not something I should be talking to you about. That there's certain things that are personal and there's certain things that aren't personal. And so I think what Esme was demanding of Trina wasn't necessarily personal. I think it was something that's naturally a friend goes to a friend to talk about. And she doesn't want Trina to be Spencer's friend. And I'm glad that, Trina was just like, you ain't about to tell me what to do. I'm his friend and that's it. And you're just going to have to deal and you can just leave. And it was great. It was my favorite and I loved it.
Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, I don't have any friends with any inheritance, so nobody comes to me and asks me any questions like that.
With any what? Any inheritance? Yes. Yeah, I'm not a trust fund friend, so.
Get rid of. Actually, I have a lot to say about what I want to see less of, so I'm gonna just like punt it. I loved most of the stuff y'all said. I actually was really mad and pretty triggered when Esme showed up to Trina's job. I was like, wait a second, I didn't know this was where that confrontation was gonna be. Did you go to that girl's job? Like, I was very upset about that. Right. Like it brought back some moments.
How are you gonna come to my workplace?
It brought back some moments for me. Don't come to my job. That's a little peek into my past life. Don't come to my job. And then that camera work with Spencer's face was just, because Nicolas Chavez like has it and does it, but whoever did that camera work was like on it and I loved it.
Yeah.
So, and I would say the other kind of favorite thing I had was the thing with the fist, not because I thought that was like particularly great, but it did like show us they have been playing Esme as like Regina George, you know what I'm saying? Like she's kind of mean to Joss, like whatever. And it's like, no, this ain't mean girl. This is actually Gone Girl. She's crazy. And like, let's move along the storyline so that you can see that she's actually crazy. It's not a matter of, I'm a Heather or whatever is your like generational reference. It is actually that she's like, and that I'm excited to see them play more of.
Can I tell you my thought about that scene? And I agree with you 100%. I like that scene, but I kept looking at her nails. I'm like, her nails aren't that long enough to cause a break in her skin.
That's how hard she's doing it.
I was just like, dang. I mean, she has some short nails. I was just like, that ain't possible. No, but that's what I was thinking.
That's how hard it was. That Arthur fist. I don't know. Sandra, what do you want to see more of? Or less? Yeah. What do you want to see?
No, we're at more of.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay, more of.
Don't make me skip straight back to the negative. I'm just ping-ponging all over the place.
Yeah.
What do I want to see more of? I want to see more of Trina and Joss. I had been missing them. We hadn't really seen them interact. I mean, they had that phone call after Spencer and Trina's first scene last week, I think, right? Yeah, the first scene last week. And I loved that, but I the same space together at Kelly's, and I just thought that the way the conversation went was like perfectly Joss and Trina.
Yeah.
I laughed about the sexy undies. I don't know, that felt like such a weird dialogue moment, but I did laugh about it, and the scented candle. And I appreciated the way that Trina just immediately sniffed out the bullshit and sensed that like this is actually an impulsive decision, not really what Joss wanted. And I also appreciate that Trina didn't back down when Joss kind of pushed against her, because I think there can be dynamics and friendships where you don't want to ruffle your friend's feathers or like start a fight, and Trina's like, I'm invested enough in this relationship and in you to tell you the truth. And that's like a good ass friend. And even when Joss was still like planning on going through with it at the end, I appreciated that she still like thanked Trina and was like that they disagreed but still like moved forward lovingly as like, you know, as chosen sisters. And I really, really loved that. Obviously, I want more Harmony and Alexis. I thought the tension with Sam was like a really great, it was a good reminder to us about like the real context behind Harmony and why it is kind of strange that her and Alexis are so close. And also we know that Alexis is always having tension with her kids and her potential romantic partners. So I liked that scene in general too, with Alexis getting out of prison and like Nicholas showing up and Sam being shady as fuck to Nicholas, just as an aside. Love that. And there was that, the way that they shoot the Harmony and Alexis scenes like continue to give me like hope that this is actually where they're going. Like whenever Diane first told Alexis like you're getting out, Alexis like turns and looks to Harmony, and it's like this long slow shot and like it's very lingering. I'm just like, Alexis and Diane don't look at each other like that. This doesn't look like a bestie look. And I know they could be setting up like, because Diane may or may not be leaving the show, because we know that she's actually a MAGA and probably anti-vaxxer. So she may be one of the people leaving the show in the next month or so. But I'm holding on to hope. But either way, I like the Harmony Alexis dynamic. Maybe it's wrong. I don't want to be right. And I appreciated that Harmony was like talking about Alexis to Willow, which I enjoyed. And also, I'll say more maybe about this later, but I liked Angry Valentine. Give me more. I mean,
you definitely will need to say more about that later.
Like,
let's talk more about that.
I'm intrigued. Tracey, what do you want to see more of?
Nothing. I hated the week. Burn that shit with fire. It was awful. What about you, Tanya?
I'm actually super intrigued by what you call him, Cat Daddy Snooper. I want to know what his deal is. I want to know why is he so interested in Curtis? I want to know, why is he so violent? I want to know what's his connection to Link. I want to know it all. I'm super curious and I can't wait for Monday. I'm hoping we'll get to hear more about this mystery man and what does he want with Curtis. So I'm super curious about that. And I didn't say that this was one of the favorite things, but I want to see more of Nicholas actually thinking thinking straight. I loved his scene with Trina where he admitted that he hasn't been a good, I mean, I think that was the first person he actually acknowledged that he hasn't been a good parent to Nicholas. I mean, to Spencer with. So I appreciated that scene and I want that Nicholas to come back, but I think that's going to be rarity. I don't think he's going to actually admit to his faults to anyone else. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I want to see more of. I want to see more scenes between Gladys and Valentine. But it is what it is. So Tracey, I know you talked about this in the other segment, but talk to us again. What do you want to see less of?
I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
gonna write it down.
Okay.
I didn't say much about other things. I'm ready to really fucking talk about how I feel about Nina Reeves. Because at first, I said there wasn't going to be a deep dive this episode, but it's going to be a deep dive into my one-sided beef with Nina Reeves. Okay. So I want less people to forgive Nina. Me and Miss Nina Addison Reeves have just some things to talk it out about. So I want to talk about how she entered the story in general and then like where we are now. So, okay. Last week, I said I was a Carly fan. And I think that like, I have been trying to figure out if the way I feel about Nina is like, it like overlaps with how I feel about Carly. But I don't think that's true because I've always liked Sam since the very beginning and her and Carly hated each other. And as a matter of fact, Tamara Braun was my favorite Carly. So it's not that. It's really just who Nina is. So the storyline that sticks out with me with Nina is that she excused Charlotte for bullying Aiden. When it seemed like GH was about to do like a storyline where Aiden might be queer. And that shit was just like unacceptable. Willow was their teacher. And when she talked to Nina about it, like Valentine was like, maybe. And Nina acted a damn fool. As an aside, GH actually needs to do better when they're doing like sensitive storylines with kids, like the Aiden thing, the Leo thing. They've been too heavy-handed and clunky. But right now we're talking about Nina. So she has been like, just for me, really extremely unlikable, from cutting Ava's baby out of her, which, very soap trope of it. We said she, had a mental break. She came back. And I thought, I felt bad for her when Sasha was pretending to be her daughter. And I thought that maybe like with the break in actresses between like the last Nina and this one, they were going to try to turn Nina into a different direction. Not that I need her to be like goody two shoes. I think that's actually really boring. But I was like, okay, maybe, whatever. And so then like, you remember her getting Sasha arrested for being like, for pretending to be her daughter. Sound familiar? And before, the Ally McBeals of Twitter come in our mentions, I'm well aware of what is illegal versus what is not illegal. Like, I get it. The law is actually really fucking made up. And if you're going to tell me you believe that there was something that Nina did or that Sasha did to Nina that was like worse than what Nina did to Sonny's family, I think you need to like look at that again, whether it's legal or not. And so thinking about like just how she acted when she found out she inserted herself in the whole thing with Nell and Michael before Nell was even like related to her. She acted an ass when she found out that Nell was her daughter. She got Carly arrested. She acted an ass at Sonny's funeral. The reason that Michael and Willow, born asses, let her see Wiley because they were trying to calm her down on Carly. So it's like, I'm supposed to now feel bad for her getting like some kind of like, legal action against her when she literally has tried to get legal action against everybody who wrongs her. And then like, let's just like move to the Nixon Fall storyline. I get it. Her and Sunny have a lot of chemistry, or like her and Maurice Bernard, those actors have a lot of chemistry, but it's not enough chemistry to like not make me disgusted with the story. And I know that maybe as a soap watcher, I gotta get over some of this. Like there's just like characters I'm never gonna fuck with. Like I never fucked with Rick after he kept Carly in the panic room. I was like, this is just too much for me. I don't care what you say. I never would have fucked with Franco if they wouldn't have changed actors. Like I already think James Franco is a piece of shit anyway. But like having like Roger Howarth, like that change in actors happen, like is the only reason I was able to even moderately accept Franco. And I, because I love Roger Howarth, but Nina, like it is what she did to Sunny was actually, I feel like because people hate Carly so much for whatever reason, like well, for valid reasons, I'm sure, like we don't really talk about, it wasn't just Carly's family, like it was fucked up. Like she went back and forth, like was playing with Wiley. The first time she saw Wiley, she was like, this girl ain't your mama. This is the person that we're rooting for? Like, how are we rooting for this person? So she did that. Then like she was going back and forth, like in Michael's face, knowing that she was like keeping his dad away from him, knowing that she was keeping the dad away from Avery. No, like it just time after time. It wasn't like a lie that happened, it ran away from her. It was because that I think is a little bit more forgivable than like an active lie that you have to tell every time you see people. In the same way that I just don't think Sonny's reaction is realistic. We know Sonny's a mess. He's probably going to sleep with Nina because that's a very Sonny thing to do. But his reaction has not been as like, you should feel betrayed. Like, even if you still have that Mike feeling for her, you should still feel betrayed by her. You should still feel hurt that she lied to you. So it's not just like an attraction, like everything that you thought you knew about this person is a lie because she lied to you. In addition to the fact that she didn't care about Maxie's baby, she like sick Peter on Liesel. Like I just don't understand how many people in like in Port Charles world like are still talking to her, and how many people like on the internet are rooting for her. So I want to see less of people being forgiving to Nina, because I have beef with Nina. It's one-sided, I know, but I don't fuck with Nina Addison Reeves. Anyway.
The middle name gave me chills.
That was a lot.
I don't fuck with Nina. The only thing she ever really did that I liked is that messy ass like would-be wedding with Valentine when she invited everybody over and she wasn't gonna marry him. That I loved it. And then when like Spencer was still little Spencer and sent her like champagne for not marrying Valentine, it was just one of the top off-screen Spencer moments of all times. Anyway, so that's my insertion there. Fuck Nina. Tanya. I don't even know.
I don't feel like what I have to say would live up to your epic speech, but I'll give it a try. I'm not that interested in Alexis's trials and tribulations. I'm really not. And what did I write down? Oh, I'm definitely not interested in Peter and his shenanigans. But I do want to say I am mildly intrigued to see what they're going to do with Jason's story, given the behind the scenes. Like, I want to know, how are they going to end him? And so I'm really curious how so that's the only reason why I'm interested in this Peter storyline. So other than that, I'm done with, I want it to be over. I'm over it. Truly. Yeah, not as epic, but that's where I'm at right now.
It was definitely epic. How are they going to end him? Oh shit.
So I know it's still up in the air, but I think it's gonna happen. So Sandra?
Oh wow. I mean, there's so much to say, but also it's like the same shit that I see every week, because it's always just nothing's happened. Nothing's happened in the storylines that I hate the most. I mean, I don't feel as strongly about Nina as you do, Tracey, but I also hate the storyline. Like, I think maybe I don't feel as strongly because I just feel so tired of this, like fatigued by the storyline. But I hear you and I agree with everything you said. And I think the only saving grace of the storyline is that the Peter and the Cassadine Island storyline is so bad that I am like, I guess I'd rather watch this Sunny Nina shit. At least these people can act. And they have chemistry. Because like no one ever said that Maurice and Cynthia couldn't act. They can act their asses off on this terrible ass storyline, but like Peter, no.
Would they hire that actor? Like,
huh?
when Brooklyn and Maxie hire that actor, I was like, damn, he's better than Peter.
Definitely, he's way better than Peter. Way better, and he was awful. Yeah. So there's
he was really entertaining. It was funny.
yes. Yes, definitely. Sure. I mean, not definitely. Sure, it was entertaining in the middle of an awful week.
Yeah.
So yeah, Peter's there. Jason, we know Steve Burton only has one face, so and it's no, I'll leave that.
But when he has feelings, he's like
yeah, he gets watery eyes. So invest in Visine.
God damn, the slander.
And then you have like, the other people are fine. Like I think Kathleen Gaddy obviously is like the best person, the best actor in that configuration. And like Kelly's really good too. Cameron is Ryan Lavery, so he's doing his Ryan Lavery thing, and that's fine. It's fine, it's inoffensive, but like that storyline's okay. And it's better than watching also Carly having to have the same ass conversation with different people every week.
Yeah.
And like, that's no shade to Laura Wright, but like, I don't want to see that. I'm tired of it. I was tired of it the first time. So I guess it's like, I would like less of me having to have the same commentary about the same bad storylines over and over again is maybe what I'm really trying to say. It just feels like treading water. And like the Curtis stuff, I want to know, but the story's bad so far. Like that the drama was about whether or not the Savoy would have live music.
mm-hmm.
And then we had to sit through an entire song.
You didn't like it? You didn't
I would have rather
download that shit?
I was like, I thought we would get out of this shit this year because there wasn't going to be nurses ball. And here we are. At least with the nurses ball, like I know these people, even if I don't necessarily always want to see them perform. So, I guess that's where I'm at with this week. That's what I would like to see less of. Almost everything that happened.
I also want to like insert this because I don't know where else to insert it. That's what she said. About I was watching The Office all day. Don't worry about me over here. But the teen storyline. Because I actually want to talk about it a little bit more than I would if I was just like a hot take. I know that it's really hard to write virginity and like the first, like if that's whatever the first time. I think that the storyline that they're doing would have been more interesting had it been Jocelyn and Oscar. Like the storyline that they're playing right now, they feel a little bit too old for. I actually really liked Oscar and Joss. I loved the whole Walk to Remember of it all because I really love a Walk to Remember. I think that the actors who play Cam and Joss, I don't think that they lack chemistry, but it is not like it. I would totally believe they were two people who met at their church and, go to the farmer's market. Like it does not offend me, but it is not good. And I don't think that's like shade to either of the actors. I actually like both of the actors. I think that those storylines are actually just not designed to like the storyline of I've known you my whole life and now we're together is actually just not a compelling one to watch on screen. It's if you were I once said that like I haven't felt as good about a ship as Sprina since like Joey and Pacey. And so like the vibe I get from from Cam and Joss is a very like Joey Dawson one, where like it's actually not, it's designed to be kind of awkward, it's designed to be kind of fumbly, it's designed like it's not designed to have a lot of heat to it. And I actually don't think that serves either of those actors well. I think that to your point, like Cameron is actually more intriguing and interesting with Esme. I would actually love it if Cameron found out that Esme was a bad girl and still wanted to fuck with her. Like, I think that's like interesting. I think giving Joss like a kind of Romeo and Juliet, like rival mob boss to my stepdad, like that would be interesting for her. I think she could handle it. I think that Eden is actually really talented and we've seen her play very well with like adults. And to your point, her relationship with Trina is very good. I think that her relationship with Cam as friends was good. I just don't find them to be compelling or interesting as a couple. And I think the Disneyfication of, just like even the idea they were like, oh, we're gonna go watch Jungle Cruise after this. And I said something about it on Twitter, on our Twitter, people like, kids watch Jungle, of course kids watch that. When I was in college, I watched Little Mermaid or whatever the fuck I was watching, but it was like, we were like clear, like, oh yeah, we're gonna have kids movie night. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to watch this, just like, whatever, like as a normal thing. It was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go like pretend to be kids or like really relax or kick back or turn off our minds. Just like the idea that y'all are watching Jungle Cruise or whatever you're watching, like just the Disneyfication of these kids continues to happen even with the sex storyline.
I mean, that was a straight blatant commercial because
Sure.
Disney Plus was doing their thing on Friday, and so they wanted people to go on Disney Plus to watch Jungle Cruise.
There's other things on Disney Plus though than Jungle.
Oh yeah, that are better than Jungle Cruise. But I think it just kind of ties it to the whole exhibit thing. I guess they felt it made sense to choose Jungle Cruise. I would have been like, I'm gonna go and watch Loki on Disney Plus.
I'm not even saying they couldn't have watched, because kids, I watched a Goofy movie the other day, which is, Powerline is one of the best, cartoon singers ever. So I'm not tripping on kids or people watching kids movies, but I think in the overall theme of like who they are, it should have been mentioned like, oh yeah, like because of this exhibit, we're gonna watch this movie, or not that like they just want to fucking watch this movie. Even they could still talk about it and connect to something, but to have them like switch with no like explanation of being like, we're old enough to have sex and we're gonna have, whatever, you're gonna have our sexy undies or whatever the fuck, and then like the next day it's like, oh, we're about to go watch this kids movie. It just felt a little jarring for me.
I thought it was weird. I thought Trina, Joss, Cam, and actually made sense, but like I was like, Spencer and Esme are watching Jungle Cruise. They were watching like Eyes Wide Shut. Like, come on.
I don't think they're going to be watching anything. I think it'll be on, and then they're going to be like, brown chicka brown brown.
I mean, that's what I was getting at with the Eyes Wide Shut thing without actually saying it, Tanya.
Oh, okay. I just had to say it.
I'm trying not to scar our listeners.
Hey, I was scarred her just waking up naked in his bed. I'm over.
You're still upset about it?
I'm still upset. I'm like, why? Why are you there? Get out. That's Trina's spot. Oh yeah. Anyway.
Well, yes. I agree about Cameron and Joss. I think that there's also something about like, well, I think losing virginity storylines are weird anyway, and like
Yes.
virginity is like not a real concept and blah blah blah, and it's really like focuses on like straight people and what they consider virginity to be. And also like there are lots of different ways to engage sexually that aren't what they're considering to be like losing your virginity, which is like, you know, vaginal intercourse. So also everyone, I work in reproductive health and sexual health, so that's why I have such strong opinions on this. But like I know like people make this decision in lots of different ways, but there are like gradients of sexual activity, and so it just feels weird for them to be so chaste and then all of a sudden be like, and now we're gonna have sex at my mother's birthday. Like real fast before she gets home. Like it was just very, is for people who think that this is such a big deal to approach it in this way, just felt weird. It also felt weird, like I know that Cameron eventually like stopped things because things felt weird, but I was just like, Joss seemed so not into it at all. And it just made me feel uncomfortable and yucky. And I don't know, like I understand that it was like supposed to be awkward and like it was supposed to show that they weren't ready. I just don't really know where they're going with this too. Like yeah, I've also seen like we see that Cam has chemistry with Esme, and we've also seen Joss have chemistry with Dev. They actually had really, really wonderful chemistry. So we know that Joss can play that. And, you know, she had good chemistry with the kid that played Oscar too, but it was much more like sweet, like kid stuff versus with Deb. I was like, okay, all right, this could go somewhere. And then it didn't, and they killed him. R.I.P. Still miss you, Dev. Glad that he got mentioned this week, actually.
Same. And I think that's the other piece, and I'm sorry, Tiny, I'll let you get in if you had something. I think that's the other piece that's a little annoying about like the way they write these kids. These kids have been through some shit. They've lost like to death two of their like very important like friends, one to like mob violence and one to cancer. Like they're like, so to make it that the only thing that they're kind of like childish about or like, you know, whatever about is sex, just it just feels to me like the people who write this soap don't like soaps. It's just, I don't know, or like are men who don't understand. Because to your point, like why have we never seen Joss and Cam like get caught, you know, kissing and people like making a big deal of it? Like the first time that we like, it also speaks to like not giving Elizabeth a story. Like Elizabeth should have like caught them once or twice and then like had a conversation with Cam about sex and being careful because she got so many baby daddies. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's more things that could have been done. No shaming to Liz. I like all her baby. Well, I don't like all her baby daddies. That's not true. But all of the stories have made sense and they've been good stories. I'm not tripping on that, but I'm saying that there is a conversation to be had that didn't have to happen with Scott. Like this whole idea that the only person who could talk to you about sex is your dad, and now you need a stand-in dad. Like Liz has raised these kids by herself. Like she can have a conversation with her son about sex, and just like it's almost like the people who are writing it are allergic to making shit compelling. Because like I said, it would have been actually interesting had Joss like already had sex with Oscar before he died in this like chaste, like scary way. And then Cameron felt intimidated by it. Like that could have actually been an interesting thing. Or playing up the fact that Trina actually was like dating some older dude and hid condoms in Jocelyn's backpack. So she could have like said from experience, I had sex before I was ready. Like it's not doing it for me. That's all I got.
You know what? Honestly, I would, and I don't know why, but I was actually surprised that Joss was still a virgin. Because they make her seem like so worldly sometimes. And I almost felt like it was like a rewrite that she was still a virgin. But I don't remember specifically any conversation where she talks about it. But I kind of felt like her and Oscar did already have sex for some reason. And then when she comes out, I'm losing my virginity. I was like, oh, okay. And it was fine. But yeah, so yeah, I agree. I think it would have been more interesting if she had already had sex and Cameron was the one that hadn't. That would have been a lot more interesting to me. It does seem a little bit old fashioned to have Cameron only talk to a man about it. Because I know, I mean, my mom was crazy, but she actually she talked about it with my brother. She was a little old fashioned too. She didn't necessarily talk about it with me, but she definitely talked about it with my brother because she didn't want him bringing home any babies. So when he was like, what, I think 14 or 15, his birthday present was a package of condoms. It was like, don't bring him home. I know you're going to do it. So here you go, but don't bring him home. And so, she wasn't afraid. I don't think most single mothers are afraid to talk to their kid.
Right.
So to have, Elizabeth not do that, it was pretty interesting. And yeah, and then why didn't I think Joss, I'm glad that she had the conversation with Trina, but I was also surprised she didn't ask Carly about it because they have a really close relationship. And I know that's something that Carly would probably want to talk with her about. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they talked about sex. The only time they talked about sex, Carly and Joss, was when when Carly found the condoms in Joss's backpack that belonged to off-screen Trina. Or maybe this was when Trina was still Asian. I can't remember which one. And yeah, but that was the only kind of like, I feel like, acknowledgement. Or maybe, I think maybe Oscar and Joss did talk about whether or not they wanted to do it and they decided against it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like, I and like also Elizabeth did walk in, but on Joss and Cam like kissing, but it was pretty chaste. But it would have been a good moment. It was like the summer, especially if they knew the storyline was going in this direction, it would have been a good moment for Elizabeth to be like, well, it's also like the first time Cam's actually had a girlfriend. So it would have been like a good moment for her to be like, all right, well, I'm not trying to have any grandbabies with Carly, so
Great. That's one thing I'm definitely not gonna have is some grandbabies with Carly. So let's talk about this.
Soon. Like if y'all may be on the line when you're older, but like I can't be negotiating this right now.
Right.
I mean, and like they continue to play them like these fucking kids were destitute. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that could be like, Cameron, we are the kind of people who have to work for, because that's the other, I mean, just like no conflict. There should be some conflict with the fact that like Joss is rich and Cam's not. And so like having that conversation, look, they are rich and they, something happens over there, that's one thing. Over here, that's a real financial burden for us. I'm a fucking widow, I'm a single mom, whatever. Just like anything. But yeah, it was just a missed opportunity to me and I didn't like it. Anyway, we can do that at the end with like any extra hot takes we have. Tanya, who do you think had the performance of the week?
Well, I think I talked about what my favorite moments of the week were. So obviously those actors associated with them got my best performance grades. So no surprise, Sydney Mikayla with Trina got the best performance of the week. And she had multiple good performances, with Esme, with Nicholas. Who else did she talk with Joss? She talked about, she had some good scenes this week. And so kudos to her and her speech, but mainly I love that scene with Esme. Tell her, don't let this white girl try to get you. Tell her that she is her own person and you are not trying to get in the middle of my man, because we all know that Spencer is mine. No, just so I love that. Also, second place, Tristan Rogers. Love that. Love him, but specifically love the scenes with Olivia. And actually, I think it's a tie between Tristan and James Patrick Stewart because his scenes with Gladys were amazing. I love it. I love all of his facial expressions. He's very expressive, James. Love him. Actually, I'm going to put him second and then Tristan third. I'm changing it up right like right now. Yeah, because James
All
is
solid choices.
right. So, but those are my actors for the week. Sydney, James, and Tristan. Kudos to you.
Yeah. Yes. Love them all. Love them.
Yeah. I will say that I just wish there was more of the Sydney and or of the Trina and Esme scene. It was like too short. They went 2 cycles. I texted Tracey while I was watching. I was like, we've gone to commercial break twice and they have not returned back to Trina and Esme. I was furious. I thought there was going to be more. And so that leads me to believe that there's going to be extra drama next week, but we'll get to that later.
I mean, you wanted more. Trina was like, you still here?
Yes!
I was like, oh, you're still here then, huh? Okay.
I loved
it was so good. She's like, girl, I'm at work. Go to your little internship. Leave me alone. I'm at work.
You know what I loved about that was at first Trina was nice to her. She was like, oh, okay, what are you doing? Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden Esme is like are you trying to steal my man from you? That's when Trina was like, okay, bitch, no.
This was definitely implied. Like,
right.
It was.
He will not leave me alone.
Like, you need to leave me alone.
I mean, he won't leave. He won't.
Oh yeah, he won't leave me. Yeah, but still, it's not.
I almost maced him.
I tried to mace him. He keeps coming back for more. I just, sorry.
Sorry.
And even if he, it doesn't matter. I enjoy his company and I'm his friend. And so you need to chill out.
If you saw us on the turret, you would know we have chemistry, boo. Anyway.
She saw them on the turret.
Behind the scenes drama. Well. I was so mad that whole Ingo shit happened like after we recorded because I had something for him when I was freshly angry. Like I'm still mad, but yeah, I was fresh angry last week. But so vaccine mandate at GH went into effect November 1st. We now know for sure that Ingo Rademacher is out. Rumors are swirling that Steve Burton is out. As Sandra pointed out, Carolyn Hennessy, aka Diane, may be out. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear all of that. Also, so Ingo decided to go show his whole ass and go on Twitter, on his Instagram, and share a post where he misgendered a trans woman, all in the name of like feminism, which was quite interesting and actually very J.K. Rowling of him. And yeah, just wanting to hear what y'all think. So Cassandra James is obviously on the show. And I'll say this before I throw it to you. It was really frustrating to me that people turned it into like a I stand with Cassandra incident. Like, yes, for sure, like voice your support for Cassandra, but also like you shouldn't have to know a trans woman for this to like be resonant and for you to like step the fuck up. So anyway, what do y'all think about that and any other behind the scenes drama you've heard?
Yeah, I also yes, let's stand with Cassandra. She's amazing. And the statements that she put out were just 100% on point. And she shouldn't have had to be the first person to make them.
Yep.
And also I would have appreciated it made it about her, which yes, let's give her attention and props much more than we've been giving her up until this moment. And call out Ingo
by name.
Nancy Lee Grahn was the only person who did. And as everyone knows, we have complicated Nancy feelings on this podcast. But what I will say about her is I had never had a doubt that she would be the first person to speak out about this.
Yeah.
I never had a doubt that she would say something. I never had a doubt that she would be direct about it and that she would name names and that she would be messy. And boy, was she ever. And I will say that like these are the moments where I'm like, okay, we're holding her with complexity, because like we're going to continue to hold her accountable and call her out. And I'm also going to continue to be like, all right, Nancy, like, thank you for modeling that. Because she really was the only person that called him out directly. Everyone else either alluded to a GH cast member, or they didn't even name him at all and just kind of gave blanket generic support statements about the LGBTQ plus community. And that felt really unsatisfying. And so I both like held like the appreciation that people were standing with Cassandra, that people were speaking up at all. And I'm also wondering like where was speaking out against Ingo and speaking up in solidarity with people of color, with Black people, with Asian people. Cassandra's also Chinese too. And Ingo has said hella anti-Chinese shit. So I am glad he's going to be gone. I look forward to never speaking his name again. And I'm still like holding anger, hurt, frustration that he's been able, like that it had to escalate to this point for him to be publicly called out and not even really called out by his cast members, especially Maurice. Let's talk about Maurice.
Talk about it.
So he took a long ass time to say anything, even though he just had Cassandra on his show.
Yeah.
And talked about how much he learned from her. His statement was fine, I guess. It would have been more acceptable had it come earlier. But then when ABC and General Hospital finally put something out Wednesday morning, when this happened Sunday afternoon, Ingo commented it on Instagram, basically being like, I stand with queer people. He didn't say queer people. I stand with LGBTQ community. I stand with trans people, blah, blah, blah. And basically tried to backtrack and say that he was never transphobic to begin with. So it was an apology that wasn't an apology at all. And Maurice thanked him for it. First of all, who are you thanking anyone on behalf of, Maurice? This is not your community to thank anyone for on behalf. If you want to have a private conversation with Ingo, please, you should be. But like that really rubbed me the wrong way. Actually, that's like an understatement. I'm actually pretty disgusted, and it feels complicated. I mean, Maurice is already a complicated person, and I have attachments to him because I've seen him, he's been on my screen for so long. And that just it feels hard for me to like have fond feelings for him in this moment. Like as a queer person, as a non-binary person, like I'm also just like wrestling with, and we've talked about this in reference before to like what it's like to be a marginalized person in a fandom and like this be your escape. But then I spent a lot of time and happy to support Cassandra always. And I always will. Like she is part of many of my communities, like she is family. And that's not how I wanted to spend my time.
Right.
It was really fucking triggering and awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I will say, I'll be very happy to support her when her show comes on HBO Max, her show that actually centers trans people and their narrative and trans people of color. It's premiering actually this week on HBO Max, and it is called Sort of. And I will be tweeting about it from my account. So love you, Cassandra James.
Period. I have more to say, but I want to pause for Tanya for anything you might have.
Yeah, I definitely, I was kind of in the middle of my own personal beef with one of the GH tweeters. And so when it actually happened, that whole ego thing, I wasn't aware of it, but I came on it when he posted his pseudo apology, which wasn't an apology. He also kind of doubled down and chose to talk about how he found Cassandra to be beautiful, but never, and then he was like, what about women? And I was offended by that because I'm like, what about women? I'm still like he said, like women's rights, we fought for, like women had fought so hard for rights and all this other stuff. And I was like, so just because there's someone that's transitioning to a woman, that makes me less worthy of having rights or something? Or I don't understand. Like I was like, it didn't make any sense to me. It did not make sense why he chose to focus on her beauty than actually recognizing her as a woman. It bothered me a lot. And it did bother me that people shared that apology as if that was enough. It wasn't acceptable at all. So
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Tragic.
it wasn't just Maurice. I think Laura Wright retweeted his apology too. And I was like, don't acknowledge that.
I didn't even see that.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did, did she? Well, she's on my shit list too.
No, she did that.
Yeah, that was not, it was not cool. So yeah.
And I
So
also think, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was what like was there was a funny tweet, like someone had posted, like GH's publicist is like, what the hell? They had a lot to overcome this week from behind the scenes shenanigans. It was crazy.
Yeah. I will say that his apology was only like not that first apology, because the apology he posted on Instagram was like the second take. The first one that where he like was like, how could I be transphobic? I think you're gorgeous, Cassandra. Like,
Yeah.
he went on to
My
address
kid
that.
will address to Disneyland is what he said.
Yeah. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
And like Cassandra also like directly addressed this. She was interviewed I think by an ABC affiliate in Hollywood and was just like, that's not an apology. I do not accept that. And I think there's something really dangerous too about equating trans women's like womanhood with like whether or not men find them to be attractive.
Yep.
Or that like cis people find them to be attractive. Like trans women are women no
Period.
matter what
Right.
they look like.
Exactly.
And it was like, that was part of like, I also had people coming in my mentions being like, I didn't know she was trans. She's gorgeous. Get out of here. I'm tired of all of you. Like,
I have no patience for that bullshit, honestly.
yeah, her humanity, she is gorgeous. She's fucking stunning. And it has nothing to do with her humanity or her worthiness or her deserving to be respected or any trans person deserving to be respected. So
yeah,
I'm tired of everyone.
Yeah, I have never had to deal with working with people who have like a lot of like extremely different politics than me. Like if you follow, sometimes when like people who listen to this podcast follow my personal Twitter, I'm like, yikes. Like abort, which I also support. And so I'm like, I'm a lefty, like very left, and the biggest beefs I have are people like Nancy, you know what I'm saying, like who do liberal shit. And so for my work, I might have people I disagree with, but not on the level of they question the humanity of other people. So I actually don't want to know what it would be like to have a coworker who misgendered somebody and then came back with that bullshit apology. Because if you do that shit where I work at, like you literally might get your ass whooped. Like it's just not, you know what I'm saying? Like we just don't get down like that. Even in our interview process, we are just like, so tell me about you.
But then it gets it's not the same, but it's kind of along the same mindset that people have, that you're okay as long as you're presentable to society in some way. Like
Yeah, no,
Black
that's not what I
people,
was
yeah,
saying. That's
yeah.
no,
Oh
that's definitely
no,
not what I
but
was saying.
that's not what you're saying. But I mean, like
Oh,
his
like I just want to.
apology, no, his apology is along that same thinking that Black people are okay as long as they're, you know, not loud and they're law abiding and they're all this other stuff, or light skinned and, you know, all this stuff. And it's similar. Like he was doing that same kind of thinking. Like Cassandra is okay because she's beautiful. You know, he's
Yeah,
not acknowledging that Cassandra is a woman. He never did that. But he's like, because she's beautiful, then I'm not transphobic because I recognize her beauty. You know, that's
trash.
weird. It's
He's trash.
trash.
And
Yeah.
my point was that I've actually never had to work with somebody like that. So
Yeah.
I would never, I'm not in like a Laura situation or a more recent situation where somebody might have been my friend. I don't have friends like that. I don't fuck with people like that.
Right.
So people were like, oh, well, maybe Mo called him first. I don't give a fuck. And people were like, oh, Maurice gave Cassandra this platform. That's no. He has a podcast and he got her on his podcast. And that actually boosted his visibility. So and he specifically named, this is making me a better ally. That was his words, not me putting something on him like, oh, well, you had her on there, therefore you should be, no, this is what you said. And so therefore I'm asking you where you at because of what you said. You might have known Ingo for 25 years, but that does not stop him from being a piece of shit who just misgendered a trans woman. That's not what that is. And so I just haven't had that like experience having to work with people like that. I don't count anybody like that my friend. So if somebody says something wild like that, I can pop off immediately. There are no phone calls to be made, because when you fuck up like that in public, you need to be corrected in public because people's lives are fine. And I don't say that lightly. Like, people are dying because of attitudes like this. People are dying because people say shit like this, which leads to actions that hurt them. And so like, there is no, people are like, oh, well, you know, people should have time, or maybe they didn't see it. Some of these actors fucking live on Twitter and they be all up in the comments on Instagram. They know what the fuck is going on their show. And so for me, there is no pause. When you see somebody's humanity being like threatened, when you see somebody's humanity being questioned, that's when you step in, period. For me, it's not just like a political thing. It's not like a motherfucker said they voted for Trump and you got to check them right away. You should, and I would, but this is actually like a direct, you know, like a direct assault on somebody. And I really think it was really dangerous because this happens at the same time that Ingo was like fired. And so it like gives ABC some credit that they don't deserve, and it puts a target on Cassandra's back that she certainly doesn't deserve, that made it seem like he was fired for making anti-trans comments, when no, he was fired because he was an anti-vax piece of shit, not just a transphobic piece of shit. And
yeah, a lot of the headlines really kind of emphasize that versus his anti-vax firing. They're like, Ingo is out, anti-vax, but he said this, you know. It's like, that's not why he was fired. But
and sadly, it would not be why he would be fired.
Exactly. Because sadly, it probably would have been enough for that little bullshit ass Instagram apology. And even with GH, like they like left the comments open on the post, and the comments on like their whole like we stand with the trans community post, like their too little too late post, it was a wasteland. It was absolutely atrocious in those comments. And so not only did you like allow one of your actors to behave in this way and create a situation where he felt comfortable to behave in this way, but then you opened up your trans viewers to even more fucking violence because you didn't even do like the basic thing of locking the comments on this post. I was disgusted. I'm still disgusted.
Yep. It's trash. It was a trash week, both behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
I just hope this leads to, you know, Jax being killed off in a very humiliating way. Hopefully Terry can pronounce him dead. I just hope the worst for him, to be honest, both as a character and as a person. Yeah, that's what I got with him. And I hope it like leads to some juicy stuff on screen. I hope it's not just like a very ceremonial, like, I'm going back to Australia to check on Lady Jane. Like, I don't want that shit. I want you to be shot. Like, and I want then Josh to get a really good storyline out of being like mad about it or something. I don't want it to be like an easy transition. Anything else on that? Because I have a couple more behind the scenes things.
Oh, no.
So one of the things, and I would love to just hear, because we haven't actually talked about this, but one of the things I would love to hear from y'all about, so like, we don't say the names of people who are irrelevant, but we do sometimes talk about their actions. So there have been like some bloggers who like constantly like goad in like specifically Sprina fans, but like we'll have like conversations about like to say people like are making things about race when they're not. And so for me, I really struggle with if we should address them or not. Specifically because I'm like, a lot of these people have like really outsized platforms. And so if we collectively say that we are just not going to address them, then that means their comments go unchecked. But on the other hand, they become relevant because we continue to address them. And I'm stuck. I actually don't know what to do about that. Look, what's y'all advice? Like, what?
I guess I'll, since I actually really, and I rarely did this, but I put myself out there by responding to one of the tweeters, and I can't remember what the handle's name is, but basically the mom that posts videos about her son and his recaps. And
that's all we need to say.
Yeah, and she had the temerity to say that, racism is losing its definition because folks are upset when they talk about, Sprina. And even, I think the comment wasn't even necessarily about Sprina. I think some of it was just did not want to see Alexis and Sean together.
It was about Sprina.
Oh, it was about Sprina.
It was about Sprina, yeah.
Whatever, but to say stuff like racism is losing its definition, that triggered me to be like, okay, I'm not gonna. And she subtweeted it too, right? She did a subtweet about that, and that bothered me. And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna subtweet her. I'm gonna talk to her directly and tell her why that tweet was problematic. And I actually made a thread about it. I made a speech about it, a TED Talk. That's what you called it. Because I did not want her, in her growing popularity, to get away with saying something like that. I needed her to understand that, racism doesn't lose its definition just because we talk about issues that aren't necessarily directly racist, but doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact on, people of color. And particularly letting her know that when mainly white people try to negate a mixed race relationship, that means that the producers are paying attention and they make choices based off of what they think that fans want. And so when you get a lot of people saying, Josh should be the third wheel and Sprina, they're going to pay attention to that. And that's what continues racist decision making, that keeps things like that happening. And I needed her to understand that, because she was just thinking, oh, we're just, like one of those, angry Black people that always want to see racism in everything. And like, we don't just see racism in everything. It is in everything. It's happening. It's real. And if you don't want to acknowledge it, fine. But don't like try to negate our real feelings, because we're real fans and we have a stake in this just as much as you do. And, our feelings and our thoughts and concerns should be heard just as much. So that's why I was triggered and I had to say something. And she tweeted that, oh, thank you, I'm going to read it. I don't know if she read it. She didn't acknowledge it other than that. So I don't even know if she read it. She could have been just like, okay, whatever, lady. I don't F you and your feelings, which is probably that's what happens. They pat us on the head and be like, you're right. and then keep doing the same bullshit over and over again. So
I had to unblock her to see the conversation because I saw you tweeting about something. I was like, who is this too? And I was like, oh, somebody I blocked. And so I had to unblock her to see the conversation. She's blocked.
right. I only saw it because I think you guys shared it or something like that. And then I was like,
Oh no, I
oh,
would never.
yeah.
But yes,
Yeah. You screenshot it. You didn't retweet it. I think it was screenshot.
Yeah, somebody
Like,
screenshotted it and then people
Yeah.
were tweeting the screen.
got it.
I was like,
would never.
no, I'm not going to screenshot her. I'm going to tell her directly. No. You know?
I also I had her muted. I don't know. I might have her blocked now. I don't know. I'm kind of like block and mute just freely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget which one I've done, but I would say that like I think it's really hard. There's no one correct way to address racists on the internet. Unfortunately, like it does really feel like a case by case thing. And I think there's also something to be said about a variety of strategies in dealing with white supremacists on the internet. I do think that there is like real power in like a swift ratioing of a clout chaser. Like that can be very satisfying and embarrassing to them. I don't really believe in educating white people on the internet. I know that that's some people's ministry, but it's not mine, especially white people who are dead set on digging in.
Mhm.
I do think anyone's capable of change, but they have to want to. And they also have to hear it from people that they're willing to listen to. And I understand that when I do address this kind of stuff on the internet, I may even be speaking directly to, I may be replying directly, or I may not be, to the person who said the fucked up thing, but who I'm actually talking to are the other people who need affirmation that what they saw was fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And that that the reason why they're triggered is because something fucked up happened, that they cannot be that they're not, that the other person's trying to gaslight them. For me, it is much more about how do I affirm other people's experience that this was wrong, and how do I support them in finding the words if they haven't found them yet to describe what happened to them.
And yeah, I think my thread did that kind of a little bit, because I don't think she actually takes people of color's feelings and thoughts seriously. And I think a lot of people who saw that thread were Black women and Black or brown women and watchers of GH. And it kind of made them feel validated a little bit. So I liked that. And then also there's people who were following me who liked it too, who don't even watch GH, but just because of the subject that I was addressing, actually, said something to them and whatever they were dealing with. Because, the words that inspired that thread came from another topic altogether. It happened to do with politics, and it's happened. And whenever I talk about it, like at the last discussion that we had, I'm more triggered by what's happening in my job and daily life. Like, this isn't just about General Hospital. I mean, people do this shit all the time, and no matter, what job you're in or what, context, it happens a lot. And it seems like we need to keep telling people over and over again, don't discount our feelings, And so, I don't know. And again, I just had the time, sometimes you just have the time. I had the time and I took it. And so there, I have no regrets about it. But there's people who are clearly trolls, who won't listen, who don't care. And, it's not about addressing them, but it's about just what you said. It's about validating, our the people who are in this with us.
Yeah. And I'll also say that there are people who, I mean, this is in my line of work and so on,
Right.
Twitter, like on the Twitter or whatever, it is that there are things that people say to be controversial to drive conversation. So like if they get an outsized reaction or a reaction based on something that, okay, I know that I can be relevant based on this. And so there are some people who I address once, they catch, the clap back that needs to be clapped, and then that's it. Then they're blocked, they're muted, they're whatever. And I think that that's like appropriate. It's just like I sometimes, I just don't know. I don't know what the right answer is of like, I'm specifically asking people to keep out of the Sprina hashtag, because that is where I would like to go to be my happy place. And the Vanna hashtag, those are the two hashtags I check. Yeah, I don't know. Because I do think, especially when people have like outsized platforms, like being able to just say shit unchecked is also not good.
Right.
Thankfully, the Swifties are going to be keeping him busy for a while. So
you guys are talking about somebody else too.
Yes,
So yeah,
there's another one.
Yeah, who I
but
don't.
Also in the same way, they're all the same. So I just kind of talk about them interchangeably because they don't matter enough and aren't unique enough or smart enough to deserve to be acknowledged separately. They're all just like a white supremacist blob as far as I'm concerned, and blocked because I don't need that energy. I have had to spiritually cleanse my laptop a couple times this week. So
and then we talked a little bit about possibly Steve Burton being out. They're playing really coy about it. It has not been confirmed. The other thing is like Ingo was confirmed by Nancy. We hadn't seen it anywhere on the internet until she said something. I've been like trying to do a deep dive before the show to see what was being said on the internet about Steve Burton. Apparently, if I would have been in town last night, and Sandra, if you would have been in town last night, we would have drove to Sacramento. But like Steve Burton and the guy who plays Spinelli did like I don't know, what do they do? Is it a podcast? What do they do that's live that they get together to do?
I guess they have a comedy show, maybe.
Are they funny? I don't know anything about it, but anyway, like they have a comedy show. Like
I mean, I thought it was just a traditional podcast. Like they do a series of different things. Like some of the stuff that I watched where they have 5 questions for this actor, and when I'm like I didn't know anything about the actor before, so I would listen to that 5 questions to the actor and see what they talk about. I think it's interesting. I don't know if they're particularly funny per se. They're definitely loud. When you're like, like some people who just talk loud or just yell and scream and whatever. I'm like, what? Why? Talk normal. It's okay. I can hear you. But you don't need to scream. Yeah, you don't need to yell into the microphone. But anyway, I think they're entertaining to some extent. But yeah, funny. I don't know. Maybe it's just a humor thing.
I mean, I have heard them describe what they do as a comedy show, and I think that's the funniest thing about it.
I'm still stuck. Like, it's a comedy show. Like, I had no idea.
Right?
Like, haha, laugh comedy.
I don't know, but that's how I learned about Nicholas Chavez, because they were one of the first to interview him when he came on.
So they do a podcast.
They do
a podcast called That's Awesome.
Yes, that's what I listened to.
I listened to Cindy Michaela's episode, and I couldn't even make myself listen to Nicholas Chavez's, because the Cindy Michaela one, like they were talking to her about like Steve Burton just kept being like, "That's awesome." I'm like, wait, is this a tagline? Like it was not good. I
didn't know they did one with her. So
yeah, okay. Well, anyway, as you can see, that threw me off. I had no idea they thought they were funny. And so they had a show in Sacramento last night. Yeah. I got in really late. Had I not, we would have just rolled up together.
That would have been fun. We could have rolled up together and be like, "Boo," and throw things.
And she's
I
like,
don't know
showed
if
up
I
with
wanna-
fried chicken and watermelon like that one time Steve Burton said that bullshit. But anyway, so I guess people or on Instagram saying that like they were specifically told not to ask about that. So I don't know if it's like an audience participation thing. I actually don't know what it is, period. But rumor was that they were asked not to ask about it, about whether or not he's on the show, which is also interesting because if you were, you would just say, yes, I am. Because there were rumors about Marcus Coloma, and he was like, no, like, I'm here.
I'm vaccinated. I'm here.
I'm kissing Mora.
You're what?
I said he's kissing Mora.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was also like definitely a choice for Marcus Coloma. We talked about this like a couple weeks ago to post one of his singing videos and dedicating it to his friends Ingo Rademacher and Steve Burton and Maurice Bernard. And Ingo had posted like a anti-vax thing on Instagram that Marcus Coloma liked. Like, check that man's vaccine cards. I want to make sure if he's going to be in scenes with Sydney, that he's fully vaxxed.
Well,
I'm ready to go gloves off about Marcus Coloma. Not this episode, but I'm tired. I'm tired of holding back. The liking the Ingo post after this week. I mean, we've been done, but now we are publicly done.
Been done. I mean, Mark, Tyler Christopher's birthday just passed, and I just, sending that king all the positive energy we can.
Happy birthday, Tyler.
Hope that you're healthy, that you're happy, that you're ready to come back to acting.
Our Scorpio prince.
We just want the best for you, Tyler.
We hope the best for you is at GH. But no pressure.
Right, because people like are writing stuff to him like on Instagram, which people are just like, we love you, we miss you, and they're like presenting storylines to him in his comments. Yeah. He's like liking them. He's like, that would be interesting. Like, it would be Tyler. We miss
Tyler
you.
Tyler is very petty on the internet. And
He is. And then like the former Emily had like wrote something like to him, and I was like, oh, I forgot how much I loved Nicholas and Emily. That was like one of my ships. Anyway, so do y'all think Steve Burton is out or no? What do you think?
Yes.
I think it must be, because why does he want to keep it secret? I think it must be a really great storyline too.
I think he's gonna be presumed dead again.
Whatever. However they end it, I want to know what I think he's trying to keep it secret for a reason. And so yeah, he's probably out.
I hope Billy Miller's doing well.
Yes, Billy Miller.
I'm sure the storyline will be great because he will no longer be in it.
Shout out to Billy and Tyler. I think we should have a hashtag and get that campaign going.
I love how like, when we first started, like episode 1 was like, we're just gonna be so nice to the actors. We'll just talk about the characters. Like episode 2, we're like, fuck Ingo, bye Steve, see you later. Can't wait for Marcus to be out. Just like, we'll wait for Sandra to go gloves off next episode. I'm sure Marcus will do some bullshit between now and next Sunday that we'll have Sandra gloves off.
Every week.
Free for all hot takes. I have a list. So
all right. Bring it. I didn't like Maxie's sweater. That's all I got.
That was the other thing. I don't know. See, I was deep on GH Twitter yesterday because I was like on a flight, so I just like bought internet to be on Twitter. It was a great decision. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was an amazing decision on my part. I got drunk on the plane and I just scrolled Twitter for like 7 hours. It was amazing. And so anyway, somebody was like talking about Brooklyn's Blazers, and people were like mad and we're saying like it's body shaming, and it's just, I was like, y'all are just saying words that you don't understand.
Wait a minute. Well, they were saying that they were mad at the person for talking about Brooklyn's Blazers.
Yeah. And those blazers are awful.
Yeah.
Maxi sweater, awful.
Oh,
It's insulting. And they're like actually high key distracting from the storylines.
right. I
And
kept looking at the sweater.
it
I was
was,
like, why are they having her wear that sweater?
I was like, did she sew this? Like, what is it? It was really bad. And it's particularly bad. And I think that we've talked about this a lot, but like the kind of like
They're
gap
supposed to be
between what is interesting on the show was like teenagers and 50 plus, right? And so that middle, like, how is it that like Olivia, Carly, Nina, like all of these women are out dressing the two people who work for a fucking fashion magazine, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are y'all? It's just bad. It's really fucking bad. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. And I understand that like maybe they don't feel comfortable in certain clothes. And that's when you bring in a stylist to help them feel comfortable.
Yes.
Who can say, okay, what part of your body makes you feel uncomfortable? How can we support you in like feeling your best? I don't want them to not feel their best when they get on screen, but also the shit that they have them wearing is ugly.
Yep. I actually feel like it's like weird. I want to hold that like, yes, they should wear things that make them feel comfortable on screen, and that might look different for them from what they have worn in the past. And like, I also think it's kind of like fat phobic and body shaming to assume that someone gains weight and it needs to be covered up with a fucking tent. You know, like their bodies look like most people's bodies look like that are watching the show, actually.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And
like
designers are coming with clothes for people with different body shapes. So
Yes.
why can't GH get their act together and do that?
honestly,
It would
Well,
be-
honestly, I could take those girls to Target and we could be there for an hour and they like and come under budget for whatever they're spending now. Like it's really it feels like intentional, like sabotage. Like that's how bad it looks. Like I'm sure it's not actually that, but it's absurd to me that in 2021, with the amount of choices there are in fashion, the amount of like I don't even know if they're wearing like plus size clothing, if they're at that place with their bodies, but like there are so many plus size clothing lines, so many retailers that are offering extended sizes. Like I don't understand what the disconnect is, besides like, are y'all just like bad at fashion in the costume department? I don't want to be calling people out about how, their jobs, but I guess that's what I'm doing.
I mean, like, I'm over double the size of Maxi and I look cute every time I go out. This is some bullshit. Like, let's not do this. It's not that. Anyway, so that's a hot take. I'm gonna run them down. I have a list. Let's get to them. Every single time Spencer and Esme touch, it's awkward and I cringe.
Yeah.
How has no one laughed in Peter's face? I would not be able to get through takes with him because it is so cartoonish and ridiculous. Jason and Drew scenes, hilarious. Jason using military commands, yikes. Miss
Yeah.
Wu is the only way I want to see the mob. Calculated, cooperative, smart. There's a story to be told that isn't that the constant new boss comes in to take Sunny's territory, and if they're continue to have the mob, that is the story that should be told, and it should be led by Miss Wu. The me and Sam aren't together pained me, mostly because it was such a waste of time all around. The J Sam magic was gone and they wasted Billy Miller. I'll stand by that. Isn't Christina running Charlie's? Question mark.
Right.
Hate it.
Scott mentioning TikTok. Also, fake drunk Scott with Ava. These are actually my notes, y'all. Why isn't anyone concerned about how much Esme knows about Joss? It's
so
creepy.
And Cameron's just like,
yeah, that's a
great. Let's go on a trip together. Nothing can go wrong.
Bring back Brad.
Brad, free Brad.
Free Brad.
Brad.
Free Brad, free Cyrus, get Spencer a lawyer. Sam was pleased when she found out Spencer wasn't fucking with Nicholas. I hope we see them build a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I love Sprina, but Trina is not there just to build up Spencer. He should also have the love and support of his family. It's annoying to see Carly constantly talking about Nina. It's not unrealistic, but it is unbalanced.
That she's the only one doing it.
Yes, in every scene.
Yeah, in every scene.
It's just annoying.
And it's the same conversation.
It's the same conversation. It's really bad. It's just bad. Sweet, simple Cam needs to stop undermining the women in his life who are smarter than him, namely Trina and Joss.
Yes.
That HarmLexis chemistry is undeniable. Michael, quote, face of a choir boy, heart of an assassin. Assassin. Diane, where? Stop it. Maurice clearly loves working with the actress that plays Phyllis. Like he lights up with her around, and I really enjoy their scenes together. Why were Molly and Christina not there when Alexis was released? I hate Gladys, but the subtle choices that Roger Howarth makes in scenes with her are hilarious. So Tanya, I know you love Gladys and Valentine scenes. I really love Gladys and I was gonna say Roger Howarth, but
Austin.
Austin
Yes.
scenes.
Those are fun too.
Which is worse, the BLQ maxi scheme or maxi sweater? There's a question you wrote down.
I'm torn.
Insert why not both gif.
Yes.
Everything about Cassadine Island is just bad, but specifically when they put that piece of tape on Jason's mouth. Like, what the fuck was that? It was awful.
He doesn't say anything anyway. Why bother?
Right. Why? Okay, so here we go. Willow and Michael do not seem like people who are in love when they are apart. Chemistry is about what happens on screen together, but also what happens when you're talking about the person. That's why everyone loves that Spencer gets hard eyes anytime he's talking about Trina and wonders if Willow are just related. It's not good. Mm-hmm. And you know, don't bring us any of that room temperature mist because we don't care about it. It's just a prop from Guys and Dolls is what that damn actor said about the gun. I both loved it and hated it. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad, but I enjoyed how bad it was. Like, that was where I was with it. I was like, you know what? This is very ridiculous and I'm here for it. The Trina Joss friendship is very important and really intriguing to see. Hope it grows. When Trina said to her, why are you acting like me and Cam having, or no, when Jocelyn said to Trina, why are you acting like me and Cam having sex is no big deal? Trina's reaction was me. Girl, we don't care. It's not interesting that everywhere Nicholas goes is awkward. Who invited him to Elizabeth's party in the first place?
Right, that was very random.
Why was Nicholas there and not Terry? Like the friend, the longtime friend that Elizabeth actually fucks with. And like, why is Nicholas there all of a sudden after so long? And we still haven't had any reaction from Elizabeth about Nicholas like terrorizing her child.
Well, we would have to see Elizabeth to do that.
True. But it's just like not Elizabeth to
No.
let something like that fly, A, about one of her kids, and B, to Nicholas of all people. Like she's gonna come at Nicholas hard. That's what she always does.
Mhm. Chase is too good looking to be a cop. Make him a PI and put him in more black shirts.
Agreed.
Why does Dr. Portia care so much about this damn club?
That's her
Why?
man. That's her man. She's trying to support her man and keep him distracted from finding out that he's Trina's dad.
If he's worried about live music, he's not worried about paternity. You're right. I get it. Okay. Here's a continuation of my rant earlier. What Nina did to Sonny's family on purpose is worse than what Spencer did to Avery passively.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When Sonny showed up talking about consequences, when have any of Sonny's kids ever faced any consequences? Ever.
Right. But he has a special relationship with Spencer.
He had a relationship with Morgan when
No.
Morgan was fucking doing racketeer rings. I
think you need to do, I want to do we should do a deep dive on the relationship he had with Morgan, because that's interesting.
That'd be interesting. I need to go back and remember what actually happened to Avery.
Nothing.
Because it was just the bear, right? That she didn't.
Yeah. And then she was at Sonny and Carly's. Like all she did, she got the bear and she was like, "Oh, cool bear. I like it." I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, the bear talks now." And then they were like, "Oh my God, it's Ryan's voice."
Right. And I understand why Ava was scared. And that's like, yeah, that was fucked up. It was a creepy thing to do. And like nothing actually happened to Avery. She was fine. Of all the childhood trauma she is inevitably going to face from being Sonny, Ava, and Carly's kid, and throw Nicholas in there too, if for some godforsaken reason him and Ava stay together. This is nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, I feel like Sonny is standing on this too hard for me to, I mean, again, rinse and repeat. I am a Spencer apologist. But I still didn't see it to be like what Sonny is making it to be.
I appreciated that, like, the point that he was making about Ava and how Spencer does like need to apologize to Ava for himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To like own what he did, because Spencer is like on some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that he's going about it is stupid, and also like bring the same energy for your wild ass kids.
Bring the same energy for your wild ass girlfriend.
Well,
you know when energy is coming over there, and it might be wild, but it won't be like that.
Right.
That's his jam. It's his jam.
Mm-hmm. I am wondering if the Brad and Michael and Charlie and Christina thing is setting up some drama between Sonny and his kids. Like showing that he's like choosing his like new life over his old life. This is not a prediction, it's just a wonder. And I actually don't think the writers are interesting enough to write something that interesting. But like, it actually is pretty jarring that Sonny would like make that kind of blanket whatever about Brad that included Michael. And it is actually pretty ridiculous that he would buy Charlie's and not mention Christina, specifically because they made a big deal when Ava like took 5 weeks to say goodbye of her handing Charlie's over to Christina. And so I'm just wondering, like, maybe more of a hope that it like actually sets up some drama between Sonny and his kids, which was like what I wanted from the amnesia storyline. You remember when I did like the rewrite of Nixon Falls, where I was like, it would have been more interesting if Sonny would have come back to Port Charles with amnesia and like pushed his family away, but like embraced Nina. And you still could have had a lot of the same elements happen. I wonder if this is where we're headed with this.
I think so, actually. I do. It definitely felt like Michael's gonna go his own way about Nina, and like I have I guess enough faith in them for them to move that forward. And Lexi Ainsworth was filming recently.
Yeah, I saw it. Mm-hmm.
So I do think I actually would love for her to be like, fuck you, you took Charlie's from me, and go work at Deception.
Oh, that'd be cute.
Like, get her out of Charlie's and get her like interacting with people her own age. Yeah.
That'd be cute. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are that's my rapid fire hot takes. What are y'all thinking?
Cam's cold hands. Oh, you gotta warm them up. You gotta warm them up. 101. Come on. Like, have you never touched a girl before? Jesus. And the something's poking me.
That was funny.
That was funny. Also, just again, why were Nicholas and Elizabeth so awkward?
It was bad.
Like, I also got worried, like, are they trying to like foreshadow some Niz? Because I do not want especially not this combo. I actually just don't want Nicholas with anyone, but that's a whole other thing. I need for the paternity secret to come out. Curtis and Portia are not interesting besides this. Like, I want to know about Cat Daddy Snooper, but like, I want less of what, I mean, I already talked about this. Like, it's too much Curtis and Portia without a point. And they don't have enough chemistry to make that interesting. And I didn't, the Sean and Nina, I was like, why are more people enamored with Nina? I'm done.
Because you already know.
Stop wasting Sean on these problematic white women. I said it.
Keep Sean away from Nina, Addison.
That's right. The Alexis and Dante stuff was weird. Like, they were acting so dramatic about it, but we also just knew that Dante was not going to give a shit that Alexis was out of prison. Like, they did all those dramatic pauses, and I was like, why are we this is Alexis's first scene outside of prison, and it's with Dante? Nobody cares. And Nina likes bubblegum ice cream. That tracks.
I didn't understand why she had 5 gallons of it though.
She was getting like her groceries delivered.
But I don't understand why she got 5 gallons.
She said she didn't cancel the order. So she just
Why did she? Because it was a recurring order and they just kept bringing it. I see.
But the real question is, why did you order bubblegum ice cream in the first place?
Who makes bubblegum ice cream?
It's disgusting.
Baskin Robbins? Like, who does that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've had it before. It's disgusting.
I can imagine.
I think that might be my closer. This is bubblegum ice cream.
That's how offended you were by it. You're like, who the?
Like, my mouth just had like this weird taste after you said that. Was disgusting.
Yeah, I just gave my hot takes while I was talking the whole time. Like, I didn't believe the whole nail thing, even though it was great. And the fingernail blood thing, I didn't believe it. And I didn't like Maxie's sweater.
Those were like the best of hot takes, to be honest.
Oh, I do have one more. Why? Okay. I love to always see Sydney and Michaela in more scenes. I love seeing her interacting with new people. Like, right, she interacted with Ned. This scene, she had the scene with this week, she had the scene with Nicholas, and of course got a little like Nicholas got a little bit of grace from some people because he ships Sprina again. But I'm also just like, is there like a wait list for these unlikable white men to be in scenes with her, to be propped up? Because it's like they have her with Ned when like Ned's not been super likable for years, and they're trying to do this redemption arc with him.
Damn, not years.
I mean, he hasn't been. I'm not wrong. I mean, he's been a fucking piece of shit since he ran for mayor. And like this whole Olivia thing, they're making Olivia so ridiculous so that people will like Ned again.
True.
And so then they have like Trina come in and like make him sparkle the way that she makes everyone sparkle. Like the way that like people look. I mean, Nicholas Chavez as Spencer obviously gives Trina the heart eyes all the time, but like kind of everyone does. Like people get this little twinkle in their eye when they're in scenes with her, especially people who don't always get to be in scenes with her. So they did that with Ned last week, and then the Nicholas this week, and I'm just kind of like, it's both like her power, let's honor it, yes, that's right, she is the best, but I'm also like, y'all figure your shit out on your own. Y'all be likable on your own. Why are you writing this Sydney Michaela train? Let her have scenes that are actually about her own plot and her own storyline. Anyway, not to say that those scenes weren't, but it's just something that I've noticed about their selection of scene partners for her.
I mean, it's a good strategy. If you want to redeem somebody, then put them in scenes with someone that everybody loves. So, I mean, it's understandable to an extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's right. I think the other thing that's not like a hot take about characters, but definitely about the show in general, like just to close out kind of our behind the scenes thing, I want them to stop. I want them to do better in not tokenizing people. And some of that is with Sydney. I think that they have done a really good job of like giving her a story. What I love for her is that this art exhibit is like on Good Morning America. Interesting though, I like saw that the clip that they selected that they were talking about Good Morning, like was like all Olivia. And I was like, huh, this is interesting because this is like definitely Sydney's story. But I just feel like, you know, even with Cassandra James, they use this whole thing like, oh, we have this like trans woman of color who's like who we've cast, and they have not given her anything substantive to do. And just because she is important at the hospital, like important as in chief of staff, does not mean she has been important to storyline. And if you're going to truly integrate like your show with something and infuse it with something that's interesting, not integrate with people, but like integrate with interesting, then you need to give people something to do that's not tokenizing them and having them sit on the side. It's also like, if you're going to like commit to a storyline, then commit to it. Don't like have us, you know, talking about whether Aiden might be queer like 1 year and then not bringing it up again. Don't have like Sydney or Trina like having one conversation about race. I'm interested to see that if like race plays any dynamic, anything within the dynamic of her and Spencer once they actually get together. Yeah, just like actually like honor what you have there, and like that's what makes diversity interesting, not just like not for optics but actually for story.
That's it. That's right.
Well, it's late. It feels late to me because I've been on Midwest time for a while. Do y'all have any other things before we close on episode 10? 10 episodes, y'all.
Oh, I have predictions.
Yes, please. That's why I'm excited.
So we have Angry Valentine. We had an Angry Valentine this week. There's also been an episode preview released over the weekend that shows some more Valentine being a true Cassadine. And so I think this is a preview of like we're finally seeing like again revisiting the primary relationship tension between Valentine and Anna this week, and Anna's gonna be back. And another reason why last week was awful, so there was no Anna. My God. And so I'm interested to see how that plays out. I mean, this is already so much a backdrop of their relationship, but now they're needing to revisit it post Crete, post Uzo, post hospital bedside nursing tenderness and bickering. And I also am curious to see how that might shift and we see some more of Anna's dark side, because that's another thing that they've been revealing more of with Anna, is that she gets to bring out this edgier side of herself. And so I think there's a way that it could play out the way that it normally plays out between them, those kind of conversations. But I actually feel like we might see more of like that Anna leading into her dark side and struggling with that, of like, oh, Valentine actually brings this out in me. How do I feel about that? It reminds me of when he said, your worst impulses are, I think your worst impulses are the sexiest thing about you, or like something like that. BLQ her secret's going to be out to Valentine probably this week, I'm assuming. Like, I think he already strongly suspects what the truth is. And so we're going to see the next stage of Bailey Lou Gate, which it seems like the rumor is, and it seems likely that they're going to say that Bailey's possibly Chase's or somebody else's kid. Or Chase is going to be brought into it in some way, but like, yeah. Willow is growing a backbone. I don't know if that's really a prediction, but she seemed really annoyed with Michael at the Metro Court, and that was the most I had liked her in a while. And it seems like I'm not saying it was much, but it was the most. And so I see more of those small interactions where you see that she actually feels very much on the outside, and I see more of her and Harmony building their relationship back up. Esme is going to escalate her crazy. This is the week. There was just not the level of blowout I was expecting between Esme and Trina. Like, I was expecting a little bit more heat from both of them, actually, even though I thought it was a really great scene. It was just too short and not as intense as I was anticipating. So I think this is really going to be the week where we see more of that action. I think she's going to sabotage Trina's show in some way. And also nobody is going to know that it's her, but I think it will backfire. And maybe giving Trina an opportunity to show her resiliency in crisis, so it actually spotlight Trina more, and or Spencer steps up for Trina in some way, and that making Esme even angrier. But either way, we're gonna see more of that Gone Girl Esme instead of Mean Girl Esme.
More blood in the fist.
Yes, more blood in the fist. And the reason why I think that they won't know that it's Esme is that I do think the teens are gonna go on that cabin trip. They've talked about it so many times, even though I think it's really hella unrealistic that Trina and Joss would agree to go. It's GH, they'll make it happen some way. I think things will probably get pretty creepy. And just like going with Esme to a cabin in the woods, where also was the last place that we saw Nella alive, of note. That's the last time, I guess, anyway, it's the last place that we saw Nella alive. And I also think that, so I think that could happen maybe possibly the week after. And maybe I'm hoping Jax will die that week, but Joss will be at the cabin, so she won't know. And that's why it's not in the spoilers.
Mhm.
Yeah, because this is the last full week before Ingo is out. So next week will be I think we should have a special prediction segment where we just talk about all our fantasies for how Ingo is gone.
I'm just like, what do we want to do? Do we want like to do a Zoom where we pop a little champagne? Like, what is it that we want to do to commemorate this wonderful occasion?
When's his last episode again?
I think it's the 20, 20
Monday
November.
the 22nd.
I feel like it should be a holiday. Yeah.
Well, folks, if you have any suggestions, please let us know in the comments.
And I think that's a 3-day work week too. Ugh, what a blessing.
Yeah. Maybe we should rewatch it on Friday together.
I'm certain that especially if it's a dramatic death scene, I'm gonna have it on repeat
all week.
Please don't disappoint me and let that man just go off to Australia with his mama.
Bring back the better Jacks and have him murdered.
Jerry Jacks, kill him, but have everybody think it was the mob. So Jerry Jacks comes through, gets close to Jocelyn, who wants to have a connection with her daddy. She's beefing with the rest of her family.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that.
Whatever the storyline is, just bring back Jerry.
True. The superior Jackson every way.
Bring back Sebastian Rush.
All right, now for real this time, not before predictions, which is my favorite part. So I can't believe I don't read spoilers, so my face is always like, really? Do you think that's gonna happen? So I don't, yeah. Anyway, anything you want to close out with on episode 10?
Thanks for still being here.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Stop being problematic and racist, and bye Ingo, and end Steve Byrne. Thank you.
What a closeout. Nothing else to say.
Nothing else. I know.